what is something that you want business owners and residents to know about you as you step into this role?
I think the number one thing is that...
Hello, and welcome to the Connect Podcast, a podcast by the Holdridge Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to the Connect Podcast. Happy Friday. Today we have a really special episode because I think I'm going to be introducing you guys, if you haven't met him already, to somebody brand new to the community, brand new to the business community, and the new executive director at Phelps County Development Corporation, and that is Jeff Hofaker. Jeff, thanks so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. You asked, I came over, I couldn't resist this. This is fantastic, Adam.
I'm so excited. We've got a chance to talk a little bit before we started recording, but we've run into each other a few times with the leadership stuff and just getting, you getting acclimated to the community. It's been
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about culture and all the kind of the welcoming spirit out here in Phelps County, it's been really neat actually just being here, being absorbed in it, and now seeing how we can actually make it even better.
Yes, that's right. Well, and that's the most exciting part. Jeff, you and I have got to talk a lot about the collaborations between the Chamber and PCDC. I'm really excited to see how things move forward and how we can continue to keep this community thriving.
Absolutely.
Before we get too deep into the weeds, can you tell me a little bit about your background and the path that led you to PCDC and also to Phelps County?
Well, you don't have a couple hours, so I'll try to make it shorter. So I grew up in Kansas on a farm, and through communication with my dad took me out a long time ago when I was in second grade, taught me how to stretch wire, and he taught me all the tools. Mm-hmm. And some of the guiding knowledge he gave me at that time was, if you actually go out, I want to tell you what to actually bring me, and you bring it to me. But tomorrow we're going to come out here, and I want you to actually think about what I need before I ask you. And that goes into planning. It goes into every kind of business. And, I always kind of go back to that story because even though I didn't know it at the time, and being raised on a farm as well, it really started the whole planning. How can I actually help businesses? Oh, I'm in a business kind of thing. And went to college, went to Kansas City, worked in the financial and insurance business. And then I made a decision to actually move back, start my own business. And through several different changes in my life, I actually started in economic development. I was in the economic development office in Phelpsburg, Phelps County, not Phelps County, but Phillips County, and was down there for almost 17 years. And so had a lot of large projects, won't go into a lot of those at this time. But then a transition happened where I had the opportunity to move closer to my wife's parents in Sutton, Nebraska, and they were looking for somebody in economic development that actually could be a city administrator, which is kind of the opposite side of the coin, which you don't hear of that often. And so I am actually coming here from Sutton, having been the city administrator and doing economic development on the side there for almost 11 years.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a unique perspective when you look at economic development and government. And a lot of times they're kind of like the opposite sides of a magnet. They kind of repel each other until you actually need them. You flip it and they connect.
Yeah.
And then they automatically flip back. But truly bringing that to the stage here in Phelps County, knowing a lot of the people that are actually in every community, in some of the government organizations, but also working with the Chamber.
Yeah.
Working with Iron Horse Creative District, working with nonprofit organizations, the foundation, a lot of the businesses, the hospital, memorial homes, and all those other groups out there. Economic development has always been a passion to me.
Yeah.
And even though I've kind of shifted gears, went to government, now I'm back in economic development full time. I bring that knowledge, but it's very passionate to me.
Yeah.
I love sitting down, okay, what's working? And at the same time, what can we actually do to actually help? Are you having some challenges bringing in employees for workforce? Is it the housing? Is it childcare? Is Is it the fact that maybe you're going through an expansion here in about 3 years, or maybe you're at that time in life in your business where you're going, oh, maybe I need to pass it on to the next generation. And so those are all aspects of economic development, and they all start with conversations and sitting down and just having a really good, honest, good one-on-one conversation is kind of a passion of mine. Getting to know what I can do to actually help. And I think before you can be a really good leader, you have to be a very strong servant. And so being a strong servant actually makes you a very good leader. And so I try to actually use that in my personal life, but also in my professional life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You spoke a little bit about it. What do you think pushed you or drew you into economic development as a passion?
As a passion, I had a couple of circumstances where people asked me questions, and we sit down and just kind of visit honestly about, well, have you thought about this? And just sharing different ideas. And it just kind of hit me, being on several other boards where that actually happened. A lot of times in smaller towns, you're involved, and then if you do a fairly good job, they go, oh, you're doing a great job. Here's another board you can say, oh, we need to have you over here on this board. And so being connected and having that network as well. And so, sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, I love that.
And so I knew I had all these different traits, and I had several people, including a mentor of mine that he passed away here recently about 3 years ago. But he said, we have a position in economic development. I think you'd be really good at that. And I kind of looked at him like, why do you think I'd be good at that? He goes, well, because you're here and you do this and you have that trait and you have this. And sometimes it takes that outside person to actually come in and say, and connect those dots. And that's with business, that's with personal, mentors and people in any kind of situation. And so, and you got to be honest to receive that, and you got to be honest and kind to actually share that back.
I agree. I'm really glad you said you don't know what you don't know. I'm big on mindset shifts, and that's one of the top 3 that I try to subscribe to the most. Is giving myself grace of you don't know what you don't know. But also when you deal with people outside of yourself and realizing that people don't know what they don't know. So I love that you mentioned that. What do you think excited you most about coming to Phelps County and starting this?
There's a history. I married into a Husker family, but I was a Husker down in Kansas. Got a lot of flack from that.
I'm sure.
But, and I still do from my 2 brothers that live down there. But with that being said, when our kids were growing up and we lived down in Kansas, we'd always take 183 to see my in-laws up in Ainsworth. And so Holdridge was always that stopping ground. And so we'd stop at the park, or we'd stop at Sonic, or we'd stop at the old Dairy Queen location, wait and go through the drive-through. And there were several other places. We'd, go around the square. And it was almost like, okay, this was the place. We were going to stop. And so we were fairly familiar with Holdridge. Then we, in-laws wanted to get closer to us in Kansas, so they got a job in Sutton. And long story short, I took a job in Sutton, and I still have my family down in Kansas. And so guess what? Highway 6, turn on Highway 183 to go down to Kansas. What's the focal point? Holdridge, Phelps County. And so I'd always make a point to actually stop. That was my stopping ground.
That's amazing.
And so it's almost like coming home. I mean, it really is. And, since I've been here, I've been meeting with different kind of business owners and organizations, and got a long way to go, Adam. A lot more people to meet. But, it's that and neighbors. We're fortunate and blessed to get a house here. And the neighbors coming over and people actually, saying, hey, stop by the office. Hey, if you have any kind of questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Just a very welcoming spirit here. Besides the facts with economic development, PCDC has been doing a wonderful job. Ron's done a fantastic job in the past. And of course, there's always history. You can't forget where you came from, or you forget the direction of where you're going. And with that being said, we've just got to keep moving forward, got to keep the wheel going.
That's right.
There were several positives that I'd seen with not only projects, but the programs in economic development here.
Yeah.
And whether or not people realize it or not, that there's a lot of people across the state that when they say economic development, they'll refer or actually query PCDC or the staff or Ron, now me.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, and I had that respect. And I knew Ron for close to 11 years after moving up here. And so it was just one of those things that a community raises itself through working with everybody in the community. And it's not just PCDC that does the work. It's the chamber, it's all the other organizations out there, it's the businesses and the citizens.
That's right.
And so there is a wonderful culture here. And sometimes you have to be that outside mystery shopper to come in to even realize it because you get acclimated.
That's right.
And so even though I was used to it, I come in, I'm going, as good as I thought it was, Adam, it is 10 times better.
I love that.
And so, and as good as I'm realizing it is, I still think that we can even make it better. We don't market what we don't know we have.
Yes.
And so we really got to get better at getting out there and marketing what we have. And I think the chamber does a good job at that. I think coordinating with us, I think we can actually work together on that. And there's a lot of other organizations and businesses and citizens that we can do to actually tell that story.
I agree. Yeah. Moving here, also being a new resident to Holdridge, I was very surprised by the art in the district, the arts district. But when I moved here, the art district didn't exist yet. And so just downtown had all this art, the bronzes, the murals that they were working on. And I told people, I said, this is a very rich community. And I don't mean that in a monetary way. I mean we have some best kept secrets here that people don't know if they don't come to Holdridge. And so I'm glad you spoke on that. I was going to ask you a little bit about your transition, and you spoke on it a little bit, but is there anything that moving here maybe surprised you?
The biggest thing I already kind of mentioned. I mean, I kind of knew that there was a welcoming spirit here, and it's 10 times better than what I thought. My wife would agree with that. In the short time that we've actually been here, and she's still working, works in Harvard, and she lives in Sutton, and she'll be moving up here this spring. And so, but whenever she comes up here, I mean, people are going, "Hey, how you doing?" I think probably the biggest surprise, which is a very good surprise, is the fact that I'll talk to individuals, I'll talk to business owners, and even employees in businesses. They'll come up and talk to me after I visit with the owner or the manager, and we'll start visiting, and they'll say, after we visit, we'll talk about, well, this is my side gig. I also do this, and I also work over here. And I've never been in a community where there's so many people that are helping other people, other businesses, and also thinking about that next step, or maybe putting their foot in that deep end of the water, so to speak, touching the water and going, I might want to start this business. And they've already maybe even started a side business out of their garage or on their farm and whatever. And so I think that we truly have a culture here that just like a garden, you don't just throw the seeds in and then walk away and say, okay, I'm going to have a great harvest. You have to cultivate it. You got to fertilize it. You got to spray it. You've got to actually tend to it, and then make sure that everything's going well with it. And so we have a culture here of entrepreneurship, and I think some people realize that.
Yeah.
At the same time, we need to develop that.
Yes, we do.
So
that's right. One of the biggest questions I had for you, and it's mostly because as a new eye into the community, into the business community here, are there any challenges that you've already identified, or maybe opportunities that you've already identified within our community?
I kind of picked out, I always try to stay positive, Adam.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm glad you actually said challenges. And I sometimes use obstacles or hurdles.
Yeah.
In economic development, you see a hurdle, you figure out a way to actually go around above, or however you can get to the other side. But challenges would be probably, there's some that I've hit I wouldn't say hit, but just came across. And one of them is, how can we better communicate internally
Yes.
and work good together in a better way? We're working good, but I think we work better.
Yes.
Along with that, maybe a second bullet point to that would be, how can we market and communicate ourselves what we have here in Phelps County?
Yes.
We have something really special here. And from an outsider going in, feeling like part of that family, already being welcomed in the family, I want to share it with people. Before I even got here, moved and took the position, I'd stopped at several businesses, and I was trying to tote the wares of these businesses, even though I wasn't here.
Yeah.
We have to actually do a better job at instructing our citizens and our business owners on how we can share that.
Yeah.
And maybe better branding, better training on how we can actually do that. I think another area which I've heard from a lot of, it's starting to happen, we're wanting to bring people back that have graduated from here, and also new people that originally didn't come from here.
Yes.
Well, for the first point, if you have somebody that's actually here and graduating, and it doesn't matter whether you're from Funk, Bertrand, Holdridge, Chicago, wherever it might be, everybody in high school says, okay, they kind of grew up in this area and they want to leave, and then they will hopefully come back. But it's how you actually engage them. And I would say engaging them is number one, and two, making sure that they feel welcome.
Yeah.
Well, we already talked about the welcoming aspect. The one is engaging them. And we talked about that in the leadership class here not too terribly long ago, is how can we engage our youth in a way that they feel that they're a part of the next stage of the community, the next generation, the second generation, and out multiple generations. We include them.
Yeah.
We have to get their insights. And also the fact of making sure that they feel like they're welcome back. How can you actually, and we know a lot of them are going to leave, but if they come back, why did you come back?
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was part of the family. I was part of the welcoming.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I think that's something that not a lot of communities focus on. They know that a good majority or a good percentage of their graduating class is going to leave, go to a college and start a family, and they don't really think much about those people coming back and supporting that economy. And so, like you said, you came and you feel like this is home. And so if we can make that feel more like that for others that have graduated from here, that's just good. One thing we talked about before we started recording, and we've talked about this a few times, a lot of people get confused about the chamber's role in the community, PCDC's role in the community. And so if someone was to ask you on the street, what do you think PCDC's role in this community is, what would you tell them?
Well, that's a very good question, Adam. And I know we talked about this. I think you're correct. I think the perception out there is that economic development does this certain type of thing. And that certain type of thing typically is recruitment of businesses from another area, another state that's expanding, and then bring them in. And yes, there is a project we're working on right now. Ron started it, the PCDC board worked on it. And at the same time, that's probably about 15 to 20% of what economic development is.
Yeah.
There's 4 primary areas, and they all have subpoints, and maybe there's another chapter where we can come back in another podcast.
Sure.
But the recruitment element is one part of the 4-legged stool that you sit down on for economic development. The other 3 all have to do with your current existing businesses. So your first stool is those ideas, like we talked about earlier, of people doing startups, or your really small businesses that are entrepreneurial businesses.
Yeah.
So that's one huge point, is you're always trying to grow new businesses. That's how most of all the corporations in the United States started, as entrepreneurial businesses.
Yeah.
And we got to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
That's your foundation. Well, once the businesses are up and going, then you have Okay, you might stay at a certain level, you might grow. Okay, so that's another point of economic development that we work with is, okay, how can we help you grow? What's actually going to be, do you need more networking? Do you need more training? Do you need the element of more workforce? What are your plans? Where do we go from this? And continually engaging. And the third area, Adam, that a lot of people don't think of is the cycle of life, which we know that we're born and we die and we live throughout our years. Same way with the business. And not in the sense that the business is going to pass away, but there needs to be a succession. So that's another important part of economic development is how can we work with businesses to succeed the current owner to actually have maybe the same common thoughts, same common direction. Maybe they adapt a little bit with maybe they need to find somebody to actually be that next new owner.
Yeah.
That maybe they had 8, 10 employees and maybe the new owner comes in and goes, I want 50. Maybe we need to diversify. So it's a matter of those three elements, the startups, the businesses that are here, and also helping those businesses continue to the next generation. Those are the three legs of economic development along with recruitment.
Sure.
So those are what we do. I know that's not a quick elevator speech, but in many ways we try to do everything we can to uplift the culture of economic development, our foundation of our economy, by doing as much as we can by networking, working with groups like the Chamber that has their own goals and their own visions of what they need to do, so we can uplift the entire boat.
Yes.
And that way everybody wins.
Yeah. Of those 4 legs, what do you think is, maybe this is in general for all economic development, but even just for Phelps County, what do you think is the top of mind? One of them that might be top of mind currently.
Top in mind currently? That's a big one.
I know.
It's also one of the big projects that I kind of got, I'm holding onto the baton being handed to me.
Sure.
Right now there's a big project out there that basically it's going to be a recruitment business. So you always need to be actually casting that net to actually bring in and grow new businesses. And you also got to be mindful about how that impacts your current businesses and also your culture. And so you want to keep the culture. We want to keep the culture that's here. At the same time, we want to diversify a little bit. We want to strengthen our ag economy. We want to strengthen the businesses that are already here.
Yes.
And so that's very common in economic development. And we're at a point in Phelps County and Holdridge is at a point where we're starting to grow, where a lot of communities are starting to actually linger off. And so there's a saying in economic development, either you're growing or else you're dying.
Yep.
And I saw that in economic development. In city government, I had several people catch me in the middle of the street and say, when are you going to stop having all these construction projects, redoing the streets and stuff? And I said, the minute we do that and we stop actually improving ourselves and we want to keep the same culture, small rural town, ag, or whatever it might be, but as soon as we stop thinking about improving, then we've just started the downward trail to actually start decreasing and dying. So we've got to keep that mentality. And so, I've been handed off several large projects. We will continue with those. But at the same time, there's been several new business owners I've actually worked with here. Just in the short 2 months I've been here, sitting down with them, hey, what can we actually help you with? And what's your long-term plans? Oh, you haven't thought about long-term plans? How can we actually help you with your cash flow? And can we redirect, or can we sit down with you personally? And have you talked to the chamber? And have you talked with, networking with different groups? So again, it's a matter of hitting, not just focusing on one of those legs, but focusing on all of them.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Speaking on that, for 2026, I know it's super early, but do you have any early goals outside of those projects that maybe you've been handed the baton?
Well, I would have to say goals. I'm a very strong person looking at the future. And looking at the future, I mentioned a few of those. I think bettering our communication. I have a goal to actually try to reach out to all the business owners and managers across Phelps County in the next 6 months. Everybody's told me that's a pretty aggressive goal. I'm starting to find out it was a pretty aggressive role. If I haven't met you yet, I will.
He's making his rounds.
I'm making my rounds. It's challenging to actually take that honest time that we talked about and not deny that connectability. And some are shorter visits than others. And at the same time, be respectful of their time.
Yep.
And so I think communication is one of my goals, meeting those business owners. The other one is seeing whether or not we can improve upon what we have here with communication internally. 3, I would really like to actually work with some groups in the schools to see what we can do with how do we do that next step to teaching entrepreneurship within our youth while they're here. That will actually help a cascading or a domino effect of, oh, what's happening in our downtown? What's happening with government? How can I be engaged? I think it's not just a one person or one group. It's going to be a coordination of multiple people, multiple groups. And 4th, but certainly not least, I think working with individuals like yourself and the chamber and through the leadership that we've been going through, how do we actually market ourselves better on what we actually have? And this is not going to be, I would like to get some traction behind that in 2026 with multiple groups so that we can start the marketing outside of Phelps County saying, we've got something special here. And the people that come in, they feel it, but how can we market it better? So those are some of my goals. Not all of them, but I would say those are probably my top 4.
Those are fantastic goals. And as far as meeting with people, you know, we for a community of, I think our county it's less than 8,000 people, and I think we've got just under 400 businesses in this community. I mean, it's very incredible what this community does in the business league, and so give yourself some grace on meeting with all 400.
I'll try to do that. Appreciate that.
What is something that you want business owners and residents to know about you as you step into this role?
I think the number one thing is that I'm very open to actually having conversations. I am who I am. And if you've met me, you can relate to me very well, is the fact that I came from an ag community. I'm in an ag community. I can relate to businesses pretty well because of having ran my own business at one time, but also interacting in economic development. If you're in government, I'm more than willing to have my door open to anybody and everybody. And so I've been in government. So if there's a government official or elected or somebody on the village board that just wants to pick my brain, and I've also already had that happen. So I'm like, here's my information, here's what I would have done on this. It's your control, but here's some ideas and options. And it's just sitting down and being open and honest. But I think it's just engaging, and my door is always open to the office. If I'm not there, my staff can always have my number and they'll reach out, leave me a note. My email you can contact me at, and I'll always return a message. If you leave a message on my phone, I will always return my phone messages. Sometimes it'll be within 24 hours.
There you go.
And I do work late. I've had a few people, even my wife called me the other day and she goes, why are you still at the office at 9:30 at night? And I just go, well, you know, it's the farmer mentality. You stick with it until you get it done. If you're behind, you keep going. You get her done. And so you don't give up on family. It's probably the best analogy.
That's amazing.
And so you do what you need to do to actually get the things done to actually uplift your family. And my family is Phelps County.
That's amazing. That's a wonderful answer, Jeff.
Well, thank you.
That is a great answer. So selfishly, this is my favorite question, and it's the question I end every single episode with, and it's, what is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with? And that it can be life advice, it can be business advice. I've had people give parenting advice, just any kind of advice you think the Connect listeners would benefit from today.
Wow. You know, I'm very appreciative of you asking that. I don't think I've seen that in any other podcast so far that I've seen.
It's very selfish. I want to know all the advice.
I've got a couple. One is to be a very good servant to your community. Again, to be a strong leader, whether or not it's working as an employee at a job, or actually making sure that your family is taken care of. Be a good servant. Be the one that actually is in the last in line instead of the first. Be the one that actually, if you see a piece of paper that's floating in the wind down on the street, be the one that actually picks it up.
Yeah, or chases it down.
Don't run in the street with, but don't just say it's somebody else's job.
That's right.
It's everybody's job to actually uplift the community. And so be a good servant, and through that, you'll uplift your community, you'll uplift your family, and you'll uplift everybody around you. I think the other thing that I would probably suggest is you never know who you're around. And so always know that you influence somebody in your life. Now you can influence people one of two ways.
Yeah.
And that's either a good way or a bad way. And so try to always influence in a good way.
Yeah.
Provide good habits, not only for other people that are watching you. And don't do it just because people are watching you out in public, but do it because it's the right thing to do.
That's right.
And so those are the two things that pop to mind right now.
Those are great. Those are perfect.
Don't keep me going. You'd be here for an hour.
I know. I was debating it. No, Jeff, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today. You know, I know that the listeners are going to appreciate getting to know you before they get a chance to sit down with you personally. Really excited to work with you one-on-one moving forward, especially in 2026, but even still for the remainder of this year. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it greatly.